Hi, let's talk about what happened in Myanmar and why the country is in emergency situation. To understand the whole story, let's go back to 2020. In November 2020, Myanmar had one of the biggest democratic elections in history. A National League for Democracy led by Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi won the election with a landslide victory of 83% seats in the parliament, which is more than enough to form the new government. But after the result was confirmed and declared, the military-backed party USDP claimed there were fraudulent votes in many cities, and the Election Commission denied the allegation as there was no strong evidence whatsoever to prove their claim. But in December 2020, the Burmese military Tatmadaw demanded investigation for the fraudulent votes, which the Election Commission once again denied it and responded that it was unconstitutional for the Election Commission to recount the votes. And on the 1st of February, in the early morning around 5 a.m., when no one expected any unusual event, the military detained the current president of Myanmar, U Win Myint, and State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, along with other key members of the winning party, and declared state of emergency for 1 year. The event was so unexpected that this aerobic instructor kept dancing without knowing the military coup was taking place just behind her. As soon as the military declared state of emergency, the entire country was shocked and extremely worried about the arrest of the members of parliament and political activists one after another. And the coup was commanded by General Min Aung Hlaing, who is due to retire in July 2021. And there were speculations that he wishes to stay in power, so he put the entire country under military dictatorship after 10 years of the country's democratic transition. On the 2nd of February, the day after the military coup, doctors and health workers started civil disobedience movement. At the same time, winning party members formed committee representing Pitangsu Lutdo or CRPH to form the government with the public support. On the other hand, people started to protest on the street, demanding the military to respect the election results and release country's leaders and people who were arrested without any reason. But the military responded with extreme brutality towards the peaceful protesters and shot with real bullets. On February the 4th, military regime cut the internet and banned social media like Facebook and Instagram to silence protesters and continue violent crackdown on the protesters during the day and night. The more violent security forces used to crack down on the protesters, the bigger the protest becomes across the country. On February the 9th, in the city of Naypyidaw, the police shot 19-year-old young student whose name is Myat Kai in the head, who dies 10 days later in the hospital. On February 12, the military released more than 20,000 prisoners to rob, burn the houses, and attack civilians during the night to trigger instability in the cities. And also during the day, criminals were hired to attack the protesters with knives, slingshots, and iron rods in the middle of the road. But a group of civilians captured the prisoners and hired criminals and detained them by themselves, as the police did not take any action towards these criminals. At the same time, civil disobedience movement got stronger, with hundreds of thousands of government employees joining the movement. The military regime threatened to jail the government employees and arrested many people who participated in the CDM movement. But more and more people, including some police forces, joined the CDM movement with support from people in the country and abroad. On February 22nd, as security forces intensified the crackdown, millions of people joined the protests across the country to mark the day of 2/22/22 in the history. On February 26, the Myanmar ambassador to United Nations called for international help during UN Assembly to end atrocities and brutality of the security forces on the protesters. But 2 days later, the military and police shot dead 20 people in one day, with hundreds of people injured from live ammunition. Despite the brutal crackdown, young protesters continue to demonstrate on the street to reject the military coup and demand to restore the democracy. And the situation is getting worse on a daily basis, and UK and US call for emergency meeting of UN Security Council on Myanmar to put pressure on the military regime to return civilian power to the elected government. But to no avail, UN Security Council has not taken any decisive actions to stop murdering of protesters in Myanmar. And it is yet to see how the situation will unfold in the coming days and weeks in Myanmar. So we can only hope the situation will get resolved very soon and democracy restored for the sake of people in Myanmar.